Good morning, everybody. My name is Paddy McGuire. I'm Deputy Director for State and Local Relations at FVAP. Before I came to work at FVAP, I was Deputy Secretary of State in Oregon for 8 years, oversaw the implementation of vote by mail there. So even though I'm a Fed, I come from state government and have been around elections a long time, so I try not to act like a Fed. Nonetheless, I have a PowerPoint because federal employees can't go anywhere without a PowerPoint. Our mission at the Federal Voting Assistance Program is to make sure that service members, their eligible family members, and overseas citizens are aware of their right to vote and have the tools and resources to do so successfully wherever they are in the world. We work closely with 55 states and territories. There are 7,300 local election jurisdictions in the U.S. 1,850 of those are in Wisconsin. It's no one in the world would design a process this way. It has evolved this way, and my job is to be liaison to all those state and local election officials. As was mentioned before, we're governed by UACAVA. When I worked for the state of Oregon, when bureaucrats testified before the legislature, if you used an acronym as a word, you got fined $1. And it was actually pretty good training because I testified before the legislative committees all the time, and at first I'd finish and they'd say, well, thank you, Mr. McGuire, you owe us $17, and you learn not to use acronyms as words. As a Department of Defense employee, it's impossible. I've completely abandoned this and use acronyms as words all the time, and hope I never have to go back and testify before the Oregon legislature again, because I will be lost. UACAVA, the law that governs us, approximately 4.3 overseas citizens that are eligible to vote here in the U.S., and just under 3 million service people and their dependents also eligible to vote. Another good acronym, the MOVE Act, as Tammy and Secretary Gant mentioned. Our implementation of the MOVE Act has been to create online assistance. I'll show you some of those in a minute. We provide guidance to the military services. Services have voting assistance officers at several levels in their structure to assist voters, provide direct voter assistance. We do training and work with them to make sure that happens. We provide guidance. Part of our governing law requires us to work closely with state and local election officials. And then we do direct voter education and outreach campaigns. The requirements on the state side that came from the MOVE Act is that ballots be mailed out to our voters 45 days in advance, that they accept the federal postcard application and the federal write-in absentee ballot as part of the process. We have also worked closely with states and provided grant money, as Secretary Gant mentioned, to provide electronic transmission outbound for blank ballot materials. So the three primary challenges for our voters is they are a mobile population, the time required to participate in the process, and the complexity of the process. Service people, on average, move every 2 or 3 years. It's a very mobile population. A lot of overseas citizens that are working for U.S. corporations get moved a lot. This is, as a society, we're all becoming more mobile, but this is a population that is particularly mobile. one of the services we provide for local election officials is the ability to look up addresses for service people. We can't do that for overseas citizens, but we do have a pretty good handle on where service people are. So when ballots get returned, we often have the ability to tell local election officials where those folks are now. We have worked closely with the Military Postal Service and the U.S. Postal Service, and they will soon be incorporating military change of address in the national change of address system. I could talk about that for a long time, but it's way, way too far down in the weeds. But what that will mean for military voters is when they have changed their address, the ballots can get rerouted much earlier in the process. Currently, rerouting doesn't take place until it gets to their unit, and if that unit is in Afghanistan, there's a 10, 12-day transit time to get mail, and then have that mail come back. This will mean that, like those cool little yellow stickers you get on when voters have moved, they'll be able to get that information at the start. Let me go back for just a second. I took a group of secretaries of state, 5 secretaries of state, to the Mideast in 2012, and so that they could see firsthand the challenges that service people faced. We took the Secretary of State from Kentucky was with our group, and it was sort of the most memorable moment for me was we got to talk to a couple Marines that had been part of a unit on the border between Saudi and Yemen. Pretty scary place. And they were a forward operating base, and their communication with the outside world occurred once a week when a helicopter would come in and kind of land, sort of like in MASH. They'd kind of land and shove the supplies out for the week and pick up anybody that was hurt or anybody that was coming back and the mail coming back, and they'd take off and be gone. And if the next week, on the day the helicopter was coming in, if the wind was blowing, they wouldn't land, and it would be 2 weeks. And, I mean, the dedication of these guys, men and women who are out there at this base was truly inspiring. And they also pointed out that generally voting wasn't the most important part of their day because they were in a really scary spot. But it was a reminder that we do have service people serving in really scary places and under really tough conditions, and we need to have systems that accommodate them because not everybody is around an internet cafe and has online systems. You know, these guys are out there, and their connection to the world was a helicopter once a week if it got in, if the wind wasn't blowing. So that's part of the time process. Secretary Gant outlined the time issue, so I won't spend, I won't go over that again, but suffice it to say, time is a real issue for our voters. This issue was largely addressed by the MOVE Act, which requires ballots to be sent out to 45 days before the election. So for voters who 60, 90 days before the election decide that they want to participate, there are processes in place. But it becomes a challenge the later and later people get engaged in the process. So part of our response to that was a grant program that we conducted in 2011 into 2012. We gave away $25 million to 35 states and localities in 2011. In 2013, we had another grant program, gave away another $10.5 million to 11 states and localities. The green ones are the states that received grants as part of that process. And because states are the engines of innovation, I think we're able to see some great success stories like South Dakota, and we're very, very proud to be part of that. On the issue of complexity, the 55 states and territories have 55 sets of rules. The Uniform Act, UMUVA, the uniform, not uniformed, UCAVA, the U is uniformed. In UMUVA, it's uniform as in the same rather than service people. The Uniform Act has made great strides in the 13 states in the district where it's been adopted, and we have been very supportive of that process. But even in those 13 states, there remain differences. An example, people, being an Oregon guy, and with all respect to my colleague from the state of Washington, people tend to sort of lump in the elections world Oregon and Washington together. We all vote by mail, and so you often hear people talk about Oregon and Washington in sort of one word. In treatment of military and overseas voters, the states are very, very different. The state of Washington allows 21 days after the election for ballots to come back. Oregon requires them to be in at 8 p.m. on Election Day. I don't think either state is interested in changing. I talked to my friends in Oregon, and my view of this issue has changed somewhat working at FVAP, but I can tell you the election clerks in Oregon believe very, very strongly that all ballots need to be in at 8 p.m. on Election Day. So two states that people assume are pretty much the same have very, very different processes. And you multiply that by 55 states and territories, and there's this wide range of issues, and the differences lead to complexity. What we do to try and deal with that complexity is provide online tools to voters who come to our website, fvap.gov, to streamline the process and ask the right questions of a voter. So if a voter says that they're in a state that requires all 9 digits of a Social Security number to register to vote, we ask for all the digits. If you're in a state where that's not required, we don't. So it's stylized tool requiring just the appropriate information for the right states, for the voter states. And as you can see, in 2012, our tools were very, very popular. Almost 900,000 FPCAs were downloaded in 2012, and 303,000 FWABs, the Federal Write-in and Absentee Ballot. In 2013, we updated our forms, the FPCA and the FWAB, and one of the ideas that we got from a state in that process is down here at the bottom, the signature line. The state of Maryland redesigned their absentee ballot request form and put an X next to the word signature. And the number of forms that came back without a signature declined by 50% by adding an X. So in 2013, when we redid our form, we added an X next to the signature line. We don't have data yet on whether that's reduced the number that come back unsigned. But one of the issues with forms that one is able to fill out online, I mean, as a former election official, online filled forms are great because you can actually read them, because people's penmanship is terrible. And an online form, you can actually read what they're writing. But when people fill out an online form and fill in all the information and hit print and fold it up and put it in an envelope, they often don't remember to sign it, because you actually do have to get out the pen and do part of that. So the big X was something that, an idea that we got from a state and hopefully will be successful in reducing voter failure. This is our website. I don't think you can read any of that, but this was, we just redesigned our website. The big box up there, the red box up in the upper left, is Voters Start Here. You pick your state, and we take people to a state-specific page and have all the relevant deadlines and links to state tools. So in the example of South Dakota, at the bottom of the page, we would have the first choice under Register to Vote would be a link to Secretary Gantt's iOasis tool, because that's going to be the quickest and best way for a South Dakota voter to register to vote. The second choice is to fill out an FPCA with our tool and mail that in. We push people to state tools where they are available, and are happy to do that. We provide contact information for all 7,300 of those local election officials. Keeping that data correct and up to date is a big effort and a full-time job. We also provide tools for election officials. In the 1,850 local election jurisdictions in Wisconsin, there are going to be people who have one military voter, because some of those are really small. And so we've built training tools so that people can go online and in 45 minutes complete a training about what is UACAVA, what are these crazy forms that I'm seeing, and just what the rules and processes are. That's more information about our training. Anybody is welcome to take it. You can go to FVAP.gov under the election official section. You get a cool certificate suitable for framing when you're done. We like that. We also do outreach materials both for state officials and for voters, and this is some of our material. We try and go where voters are, both on Facebook, Twitter. We advertise, trying to reach out to find both military voters and overseas citizens. You can buy, for example, advertising on video games, live interactive video games, where people are, so let's say somebody is playing Madden football online from a foreign IP address. In all likelihood, if they're playing Madden football, they're Americans, even if they're in Korea, because football isn't the same thing in Korea as it is in this country. So when you play Madden football from Korea, you're going to see an advertisement from FVAP. It's pretty cool and scary what we can do to find people. Our advertising campaign for 2014 is Voting is Easy, with the idea that people vote in different ways all the time. This is targeted at first-time voters to make the process less scary, and that we vote in different ways every day, and that the process to participate as a voter from overseas is just as easy. Next thing I'm going to do is, hopefully this will work, I want to play a spot that we're running on Armed Forces Television, and this is targeted specifically at service people, a TV spot targeted at specifically at service people. As part of the Marine Corps, there's the Rifleman's Creed. This is a variation on the Rifleman's Creed. Let's see if I can make this work. It's supposed to play. Let me see. Here it goes.
This is my weapon. There are many like it, but this one is mine. My weapon is best friend. It is my life. I must master it as I must master my life. My weapon, without me, is useless.
Be absent but accounted for. Go to FVAP.gov to request your ballot and send your voice back home, where it belongs.
So, that's me. Happy to answer any questions. Be around the rest of the day, so feel free to stop me, and happy to talk about any of this. So, thank you.